a very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Today we'll tell you about Global Entrepreneurship Week, which just ended. In studio today, our guest will be telling us about 3D printing and we'll discuss cyber surveillance. We are live. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Technology dominates many aspects of our lives nowadays. That's one of the reasons hundreds of business leaders and experts met in Johannesburg for this year's Retail Congress Africa. This year's Digital Evolution Index was also launched at the meeting. The index says South Africa's digital economy is the most developed in Africa and one of the fastest growing in the world. As African economies are some of the fastest growing in the world, the country's ability to support digital commerce and payments is also coming under review. Digital commerce is when one uses technology like the internet, mobile phones and bank cards to make payments. Because of this, MasterCard has released the Digital Evolution Index, which measures the use of technologies to make payments in trade. The findings were shared with delegates at this year's Retail Congress Africa, which took place in Sandton, north of Johannesburg. The Congress brings together senior retail leaders and industry experts from throughout the region. The research found that South Africa has the most developed digital economy in Africa. The country ranks ahead of Egypt, Kenya and Nigeria. Delegates at the Congress say there must be more use of card payments, the internet and mobile phones.
1/3 of young people, about 2017 in Africa, will have a smartphone. Now that just boggles your mind. So you're going to have people with instruments, with smartphones, and available. It's how you actually adapt your business model to make sure that you can get to those customers.
While experts aren't saying businesses need to get rid of physical stores, they believe that these new technology tools are likely to get them new clients.
Typically what's happened in other markets is a retailer has grown through its store business and then has added online as a function or a capability. So it can now do business online and offline in stores. When actually what the consumer is looking for is the ability to do business anywhere, anytime, on any platform.
But they're warning that each African market is different from the next. When introducing these new technologies of doing business in new African markets, they need to understand the culture and structures of the place. Index researchers at MasterCard say Nigeria and Kenya are other digital economies to watch in future. Entrepreneurship has been a big word in the tech industry in 2014. Many in the sector say starting businesses is what could help fight unemployment. Entrepreneurs also allow geeks to develop new ideas that help solve today's challenges. For Global Entrepreneurship Week, the Innovation Hub in Pretoria gave techies a space to share what they do during its Innovation Festival.
There's a story we've heard time and time again. Africa has huge unemployment rates. In order to solve this problem, people need to start their own businesses. So, for this year's Global Entrepreneurship Week, which ended on Friday, the Innovation Hub decided to host what they're calling the Innovation Festival. It's a space for technology entrepreneurs to share ideas and give advice.
The week has been about technology and innovation and entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is really about taking risk. Innovation is about solving the big problems.
There have been various speakers, from women in technology to people who've started their own websites, mobile phone applications and tech startups. One of them is Tiani Ngonyama from Geek Culture. Geek Culture is a website which allows geeks or people who have technology minds to meet online and help each other solve problems.
Entrepreneurship is rising, and those who miss the boat now shall miss it forever. So I would encourage people to look into it.
Innovation Hub CEO McLean Sibanda says he's glad that people with technology skills are now realizing that they can make their ideas profitable and make a difference at the same time.
Africa is blessed with a lot of challenges, and with those challenges there is real opportunity to get in there.
Other Global Entrepreneurship Week events in South Africa took place in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Benoni and Durban.
The Nelson Mandela Foundation launched its upgraded interactive websites recently. The organization teamed up with a company called Flow Communications to create the website's new look. Some of the new features on the site include speeches of the late former South African president. The site also broadcasts an animated YouTube series called The Life and Times of Nelson Mandela. This makes it particularly appealing for the young ones. The social media wall allows visitors a space to share their opinions via Twitter and Facebook. They can also share their Instagram pictures on the organization's page. Now, the word behind me, vape, has been named the 2014 Word of the Year by Oxford Dictionaries. It simply means to smoke an electronic cigarette. Vape is said to be the most prominent and notable word to enter the English lexicon this year. And as Tsele Khaswana explains, vape joins a host of technologically derived terms that we've all come to use.
Share my cigarette with fire. Yeah.
The most notable word for the year 2014 is vape. This is according to editors at Oxford Dictionaries. Although not yet in the Oxford English Dictionary, the word vape originates from one of the growing technological consumer products of the 21st century, the electronic cigarette. To vape basically means to inhale and exhale the vapor produced by e-cigarettes. And more of us are not only adopting the habit but also the use of the word itself. But as proof that we're truly living in a digital age, the majority of the most prominent words of the last decade have been derived from the digital space. In 2013, for example, the word selfie gripped the public imagination the world over.
Let me take another selfie.
The word means to take a photo of oneself, predominantly taken using a smartphone, and possibly end up posting it online. For its part, Twitter has registered 2 words on the list. In 2012, the American Dialect Society named hashtag as the word of the year. 3 years earlier, tweet took the honors. But perhaps the most notable of all these digital words to take top honors is Google. Used as the generic meaning to search for information on the internet, in 2009, Google was named the word of the decade by the American Dialect Society. We will have to wait until 2019 to find out which digital word will best define this current decade.
The everyday British citizen will get a chance to send sentimental belongings, such as digital photos and video, to the moon. The project called Lunar Mission 1 aims at drilling deeper into the surface of the moon to bury some of those valuable belongings.
British citizens will get a chance to send sentimental belongings such as digital photographs and videos to the moon.
One of the opportunities that people who are part of our program will be able to do is to send digital memory, photographs, videos, life histories, CVs, whatever they want.
This is a crowdfunding drive program that will enable people to help scientists scout a possible location for a permanent moon base. The project, called Lunar Mission 1, plans to launch a robotic probe by 2024 to drill deeper into the moon's surface.
Well, we want to know how the moon formed and where the material came from, and we believe it came from the Earth. So we're going to be drilling down to nearly 100 meters below the surface of the moon. Never ever been done before. And in doing that, we'll be pulling up core samples of material that actually were formed 4.5 to 5 billion years ago.
Drivers of the project have managed to reel in more than 800 donors within hours of setting up the crowdfunding website. The funders were asked to pledge more than 600 Rand for a digital memory box in which their digital data messages, pictures and videos will be sent off into space and then buried in a capsule on the moon.
Well, traditionally space programs are funded by national institutes, by space agencies like NASA and the European Space Agency, but of course funding for space is very limited these days. And so this is a new way, not of replacing that funding, but by bringing in additional funding to get additional space exploration funded. And of course it's a way of fully involving the public.
The project has been estimated to cost more than R1 billion, which the organizers hope will be raised by more people making donations online.
As cars went head-to-head on simulated roads in China, some of the criteria used to judge the cars were speed and intelligence. Smart cars are not only in China or Europe. Ugandans also proved that they too can be players of smart car innovation. The Chira Iris Mac is a Ugandan-made hybrid vehicle.
The
This is one of the self-driving cars that competed at China's 6th unmanned car contest. The computer-controlled intelligent vehicles had dummies as pedestrians and raced through simulated city roads. Over 20 teams from 14 universities and research institutions across the country took part in the competition. The smart cars were judged on their safety, intelligence, speed and the smoothness of the ride. This competition was first launched in 2009 by the National Natural Science Foundation of China. While we are still on high technology functioning vehicles, this luxurious looking car is in fact an electric running four-wheeler invented in Uganda in East Africa. The Chira Iris Mac is Uganda's first ever made vehicle, but this might be the only one we will ever see unless investors intervene.
The engine in there is a generator. When you are on the road and the electric mode is off, the generator automatically charges the batteries to give it traction. And the moment the engine is off, the battery takes over and gives you extra mileage.
Seems like smart functioning cars will be the must-have rides sooner than we think.
We'll talk about 3D printing after the break. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Stay with us.
Morning of the 21st of February 1917, their ship was rammed by a liner. Legend has it that as the Mendi was going down, members of the 5th Battalion danced barefoot aboard the vessel. 616 died that day, most of them black.
After the rapid food security assessment that was done together with WFP and FAO, we found that this is one of the heavily impacted areas because of Ebola.
Over 300 bikers from across the province making a difference in the fight against blood-related cancer.
I'm here in support of cancer, and my sister has cancer, so I'm riding for cancer.
Catch all news locally and internationally. Tune into SABC, your #1 news channel, news at 8 from Monday to Sunday.
MakerBots is the household name in 3D printers all over the world. 3D printing is a process of making three-dimensional solid objects from a computer. This evening we're joined by Bruce Bradford, the Group Business Unit Manager at MakerBots South Africa. Bruce, hello and welcome to our network.
Thank you very much, Sonji.
Now let's talk about this particular printer. What is this?
So this is a MakerBot 3D printer. It's a mini printer, so it's the entry-level printer in the range.
It's the entry-level printer. Can I own this one in the home?
This is yours to keep. So this is perfect for home use, and in the office for small for projects in the office as well.
Okay. In terms of 3D printing, what would I be printing and why am I printing it?
So the uses are very varied. We can look at engineering, electronic, architecture, medical, as well as home use for hobbyists and prototypists, anyone that wants to design anything essentially.
All right, I'm seeing a few things on our table here. I'm seeing, you mentioned architecture, so yes. I'm seeing like a model here of a house. So is this the type of thing that we would be looking at when you're printing?
So that would be fantastic for architecture. You can imagine you could print something like that and then show it to a prospective client and what they can do. And then also for engineering, you can manufacture objects. Yes.
You mentioned that this is the smallest that you have. Can you tell us about the other ones?
Sure. This has got a build size of about 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 12 centimeters, and then we go up to about 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters to 45 centimeters. So that's a really big build volume for those big jobs that need printing.
We've heard about, obviously this is a model of a home, but we've heard about China trying to print big houses. Are these houses that one can live in?
That's entirely true. So we're not going to be doing that on these printers, but that technology is followed right through to huge projects like that as well.
You also have a relationship with Martha Stewart in America. What is that relationship about?
Martha Stewart was on the CES show with MakerBot, and she showed quite a high level of interest in the MakerBot, especially on the Z18, which is their high-end product.
One thing that we keep on hearing about is the possibility of printing 3D food. Are we talking about edible food here?
We are talking edible food. This plastic that we use on here is a non-toxic plastic, but we wouldn't advise eating it, and so we're not going to be printing food on these printers, but it is somewhere where technology is going. Yes, that's quite correct.
All right, so I suppose it's something that can stop world hunger then.
Listen, I would rather go to to a different takeaway place rather than print my own food, but it is possible.
What technology does the printer use?
So the printer uses, obviously it's 3D printing, so what it essentially does, if you think of an object, it slices it into thousands of horizontal slices, and it prints one layer at a time. So if you look at a normal traditional 2D printing, you'll print once on the page. Now imagine printing thousands of times over and over again and building the object up from the bottom right up to the top. The big advantage of that is we can customize things, we can make customized once-off objects, and we can also print objects which have got moving parts integral into the object which don't require assembly afterwards.
There's something that you're printing for us here. What's going on inside?
We're just printing a little chain over there, so that chain will come out entirely interlinked without any manufacturing required or assembly required after that.
The future of printing, because I'm sure at a certain point in time no one thought 3D printing would even be possible. Augmented printing maybe?
Well, 3D printing is really interesting. Everyone thinks it's a very new technology. It's not that new. It's been around for probably 15 years, but it's rapidly gaining acceptance as it becomes more and more available to everyone. And we anticipate it will become mainstream probably within the next 2 years, where it will really become widely acceptable to everyone.
All right, Bruce Bradford from MakerBot South Africa. Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Right, now the Beats Peel 2 speaker is part of the Beats Electronics range that was originally created by rapper Dr. Dre. The speaker has appeared in many music videos. Here at Network, we decided to put this piece of technology to the test.
This lightweight portable wireless speaker is often seen in various music videos. That often gives the impression that it offers massive sound. It connects via any Bluetooth-enabled device. There was no problem connecting it, as it could find and pair with the device without any problem. The plan was to test the sound levels of the speaker. As we raised the volume, we realized that for a small speaker it has decent sound to fill a small room. We were outside, so it wasn't loud enough for us. The speaker doesn't offer the kind of dynamic sound that one would get with much larger speakers. It does need to get charged, and with full volume, the battery lasts at least a quarter of a day. It's a small portable speaker that is great if you need sound that is better than your phones or tablet speakers when listening to music or watching videos. Just don't expect this small piece of technology to be able to give you good sound for a party.
All right, so after the break, we will chat about cybercrime and hackings. It's a news network at sabc.co.za on email. Stay with us. Recently, we heard about the Gautrain's management system hacking that could have led to more than 800 million rand getting stolen. This is believed to have been done by an IT specialist. The Gautrain is one high-profile victim of cybercrime in the country. But how prepared is your business to avoid having your online system being compromised? To discuss this, we're joined by Candice Sutherland, who is a cyber security expert. Hello and welcome to our network, Candice.
Thanks so much for having me.
What happened with Gautrain?
So very basically, one of the employees, a disgruntled employee, managed to access their systems, their actual bank account systems, and siphon about 880 million rand from Gautrain's actual account as well as the employee's accounts. And during a routine testing, they came across this. They discovered that he was doing this, and they've since fired him. The most interesting thing is that he is the same person who was involved in the Postbank heist 2 years ago, where 42 million rand was siphoned out of clients' accounts.
Now, how does this work? How does one move from hacking one account and then move to hack another without ever being caught?
Well, this is the thing. Cyber criminals will always be one step ahead of us, and we live in a world of technology. So with our lives being online, it's just so easy for people to get into our systems. And we think it's, a young boy sitting, in a foreign country trying to get onto our systems. It's not. It's huge syndicates of cyber criminals trying to either impersonate you and open up accounts or steal money from your actual bank account.
And as it almost happened with Gautrain, businesses can lose a lot of money.
Exactly. A breach can actually financially cripple any company.
Now, there's something called the cyber liability cover.
Yes.
What does this protect?
So very basically, it is a first-party, third-party cover. So it says if you are breached for whatever reason, and a breach can be numerous things. It could be moving office and you lose a box of files. That would be a leak of data, right? It could be somebody getting into your system. It would cover you in every respect. So it would cover the loss of business income, actually restoring and recollecting the data, any PR expenses, forensic auditors to try and contain the breach. So it really protects you, and it's not a case of if a breach will happen, it's when, because it's happening daily. And South Africa is rated third in the world in terms of cybercrime attacks. So we are not safe. We think that we are, being in South Africa, but we're definitely not.
Now, we hear about hackings that happen across borders. Now, does this cover that?
Definitely. So depending on which company that you are with, obviously will depend on where the cover is. But you can't say that if the hack happens in South Africa, then we'll only cover it, because cybercrime happens everywhere. Invariably, it is overseas or in an African country that you will be hacked from. So you can't, have a domicile just in South Africa.
Internationally, we've been hearing about allegations that Russia is hacking into basically various sites, whether it's even cameras in America. What was happening there? Is it similar to this?
It is. So anything that has a camera can be hacked. So whether you have a smart TV that has a camera or your baby monitor. And there have been 90 South African residences and companies that are actually listed on that website, where people are just watching you. They can access your TV and look at you in your home, and they can survey the property and see this is how we would get in, this is how we would break into this house, this is the kind of equipment that they have. It's also almost a perversion, right, of people just watching you. And there are South African residents on that website, about 90 of them, that have been on the internet.
We often hear about big business or big organizations or even countries that this happens to. But small business individuals, you saying it can happen to them as well?
Absolutely. Everybody is fair game. And invariably, it would be the individual that you would go for to try and siphon money out of their account or try and impersonate that person.
Can you prevent hack attacks?
No, you can't. So you can have, obviously great IT systems, but a lot of SMEs use cloud-based computing. So they wouldn't invest in an entire server room and that sort of thing. So they would store everything on the cloud because it's more cost-effective.
All right.
And that's just easy to get into.
Candice Sutherland, thank you very much for joining us tonight. All right, now let's see what some people have been sharing in social media. Many people in social media have been sharing their thoughts on news that South African Airways CEO Nico Besaidenoud only has a matric and had previously said he had degrees. The Democratic Alliance has said he must be suspended. This has been a major chatting point. Some have been sitting in the dark because of Eskom load shedding. They took to social media to complain about this. R&B musician John Legend and his model wife Chrissy Teigen have been touring South Africa. The singer has also been performing in Johannesburg and Cape Town as part of his All of Me tour. They have both been sharing pictures of their South African trip on Instagram. Right, so now this is the little network that's been printed by our 3D printer that we're testing out tonight. That's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. We leave you with a video showing you how people will be using hand gestures to control their mobile phones in the future. From Ms. Pumela Zondi and the rest of the network team, have a good one.
This morning, I was all alone. Saw your picture by the telephone. I was missing you so bad. Wish I had you in the home. All I've got is this touch telephone. So I guess I better give you a call. Operator, I'm deeply getting through to my baby. They're overseas. Time to waste it. Oh, so bad. Don't know what we gonna do. But for now, I got you on the line. Well, it feels fine knowing you're alright. Nothing ever seems the same.
Healthy food is not always the cheapest food option. And so making the healthy choices, the easier choices, remain a health challenge for South African children.
Bipolar disorder is said to affect 1 in 100 people.
Low back pain, the most common spinal disorder, affects about 8 out of 10 people at some point in their lives.
Back pain persists for more than a week or two. Seek advice.
I'm Dr. Cyril Mutau. Watch Health Talk every Saturday on SABC.
What I'm very grateful about is the fact that I can motivate and I can stimulate young kids that are coming up to say, whatever you want to do is within your reach.
Now I have cancer, and now I've survived this terrible abuse.
I accepted and went to Parliament. I thought it was just going to be for 5 years, but little did I know that 15 years down the line, I'll still be stuck in Parliament.
Join Puleng Molebatsi on Bupilong.
We really know the hype is about the new